Before we begin tonight's journey into the past, take a moment to settle in. Maybe dim the lights, lie back, and let the day fade away. If you enjoy these quiet stories, feel free to like the video and subscribe, but only if you truly find peace here. Let me know in the comments where you're listening from and what time it is. It always brings me joy to see our sleepy little community from across the world. Now take a deep breath, get comfortable, and let's begin. You are just born into ancient Rome, a world bustling with marble, sandals, and the ever-present scent of olive oil. But what truly surprises you, even in your earliest memories, is how different and oddly complex hygiene is in this empire. As you grow older, the public bathhouses, or thermae, become a regular part of your life. Picture a vast, ornate building, its high, vaulted ceilings supported by columns that seem to stretch up towards the heavens. The walls are adorned with beautiful mosaics, depicting scenes from mythology or the simple pleasures of life. The marble floor was cold beneath your feet as you stepped into the steamy room. Men chatted in low voices, water lapped gently, and the air smelled faintly of lavender oil and sweat. A servant approached with a strigil, its bronze curve glinting in the candlelight. The thermae were not just places to get clean, they were social hubs, where friends and neighbors gathered to catch up on the latest news, discuss politics, or engage in philosophical debates. You might start your visit in the frigidarium, the cold, water pool where the shock of the cool liquid wakes up your senses. Then you'd move to the tepidarium, a warm water chamber that soothes your muscles. Finally, you'd enter the caldarium, the hot water bath, where the steam fogs up your vision and makes your skin tingle. But the actual act of cleaning was quite different from what we're used to today. Instead of soap, Romans relied on olive oil and strigils. First, you'd slather your body with olive oil, which would soak into your pores and loosen the dirt and sweat. Then, using the strigil, a curved metal tool that looked like a miniature sickle, you'd scrape the oil, along with the grime, off your skin. The scraping motion was rhythmic, almost meditative, as the strigil moved in long, smooth strokes over your arms, legs, and back. When it came to using the toilet, the Romans had their own unique practices. Public latrines were common, large rooms filled with rows of marble seats, each with a hole in the center. Beneath the seats, a continuous stream of water flowed, carrying away waste. Instead of toilet paper, people used tersoriums, shared sponges on sticks. After use, the sponges were rinsed in a bucket of salt water or vinegar, a rudimentary form of sanitation. The sound of the flowing water and the low murmur of conversation filled the air as people went about their business. Perfumes and deodorants were also an important part of Roman hygiene. Made from a variety of flowers, herbs, and vinegar, these scents were used to mask body odor. Women might dab a bit of rose-scented oil behind their ears, while men might splash on a mixture of mint and vinegar. The Romans used more scent than water in many cases, as good smells were associated with cleanliness and social status. In fact, the production and trade of perfumes were big business in the empire, with exotic ingredients being imported from far off lands. Dental hygiene was another area with its own quirks. To clean their teeth, Romans used a paste made from crushed bones and oyster shells. The texture was gritty, almost like sandpaper as you rubbed it onto your teeth with a chewing stick or an early form of toothbrush. Chewing sticks, usually made from twigs with frayed ends, were used to scrub between the teeth and freshen the breath. The taste of the bone and shell paste was strange, a mix of earthy and slightly metallic, but it was believed to keep the teeth strong and healthy. Hair removal and grooming were highly valued in ancient Rome. Women used tweezers to pluck their eyebrows into thin, arched lines, a popular beauty standard of the time. Pumice stones were used to smooth rough skin, especially on the feet. Barbershops were busy places where men would go to get their hair cut and beards trimmed. The barbers were not just skilled in cutting hair, they were also knowledgeable about grooming products and could offer advice on the latest styles. Roman women had an elaborate set of beauty rituals. Strange face creams made from ingredients like beeswax, honey, and various plants were applied to keep the skin soft and smooth. Lead-based powders were used to achieve a pale complexion, which was considered beautiful. At night, women would perform a series of rituals to remove their makeup and cleanse their skin. They might soak a cloth in milk and use it to wipe away the lead powder, then apply a soothing herbal ointment to their face. Hygiene also differed between social classes. The elite had access to private bathhouses in their villas, which were often more luxurious than the public thermae. These private baths might be decorated with precious stones and gold leaf, and the water could be scented with rare oils. Commoners, on the other hand, relied on the public bathhouses, which were more crowded but still offered a sense of community. The type of hygiene products used also varied, with the wealthy able to afford the most expensive perfumes and grooming items. Seasonal bathing customs added another layer to Roman hygiene. In the heat of summer, people might visit the bathhouses more frequently to cool off and wash away the sweat. During religious festivals, bathing was often a part of the rituals, symbolizing purification. Superstitions also played a role. Some believed that bathing at certain times of the day or in specific bodies of water could bring good luck or ward off evil spirits. For children, learning about cleanliness was an important part of growing up. They were taught from a young age about the importance of hygiene, both for their health and for social acceptance. Parents would show them how to use the strigil properly or explain the importance of washing their hands before eating. As they got older, children would accompany their parents to the bathhouses, observing and participating in the social and hygienic rituals. But that was only the beginning. Hygiene in Roman military camps was a different tale altogether. The soldiers, constantly on the move, had to find ways to stay clean in less than ideal conditions. After a long day of marching, they might gather by a river or stream. Using their helmets as makeshift basins, they'd splash water over their bodies, trying to remove as much dirt and sweat as possible. Olive oil and strigils were still essential tools, even in the field. To clean wounds, they had their own methods. They'd use clean strips of cloth soaked in vinegar or salt water to disinfect the cuts and scrapes. The strong smell of the vinegar would fill the air as they carefully tended to their injuries, hoping to prevent infection. Travelers on the long, dusty roads of the empire also had their own tricks for staying fresh. They'd carry small bottles of perfume or scented oils to mask any unpleasant odors. Some would even seek out natural hot springs along the way, taking advantage of the warm, mineral, rich water to wash away the grime of the journey. And the emperors, with their vast wealth and power, indulged in the most luxurious bathing experiences. They might bathe in oils made from rare flowers or imported spices, surrounded by servants ready to attend to their every need. The scent of these exotic oils would linger in the air, a sign of the emperor's opulence and status. The emperor's indulgences in bathing set a standard that trickled down, inspiring new trends across the empire. In the provinces, wealthy merchants began to imitate the imperial bathing styles, commissioning artisans to create their own versions of the rare oil blends. But for those far from the centers of power, hygiene adapted to local resources. In coastal towns, fishermen used seawater to rinse off the salt and fishy smell after a long day at sea. The briny water stung their cuts and scrapes, but they believed it had cleansing properties, much like the vinegar used by soldiers. As you wander through the bustling streets of a provincial city, You notice the small neighborhood bathhouses. These are more intimate than the grand thermae. The ceilings are lower and the mosaics are simpler, but the sense of community is just as strong. Here, women gather in the early morning, their hair covered with simple scarves. They gossip softly as they apply a paste made from local clay and herbs to their faces. The clay, they say, draws out impurities and leaves their skin feeling tight and fresh. After letting the paste dry, they use pieces of rough linen to gently scrub it off, revealing smoother complexions. In the countryside, farmers have their own unique hygiene practices. After a long day in the fields, covered in dirt and sweat, they often head to the nearest stream. But instead of just splashing water on themselves, they use the tall grasses growing along the banks. They rub the soft blades over their skin, using the natural texture to exfoliate. The grass also leaves behind a fresh, earthy scent that blends with the smell of the soil still clinging to their clothes. Back in the city, the barbershops have expanded their services beyond just haircuts and shaves. Some now offer what they call hygiene consultations. Customers can sit in a comfortable chair, surrounded by shelves filled with jars of ointments and bottles of oils, and discuss their skincare and grooming concerns with the barber. The barber might recommend a specific type of oil for dry skin or suggest a new way to use the strigil for a more thorough clean. As the seasons change, so do the bathing habits in the city. In the rainy season, the public bathhouses become even more crowded. People seek refuge from the damp and cold, huddling in the warm caldarium. The sound of raindrops hitting the roof echoes through the bathhouse, creating a soothing background noise. Special herbs are added to the water during this time, believed to ward off colds and other illnesses that tend to spread in the wet weather. But the world of Roman hygiene is ever evolving. A new trend emerges among the young and fashionable, using honey in their beauty routines. Honey is mixed with ground almonds to create a thick, sweet, smelling scrub. It's said to make the skin soft and give it a healthy glow. The demand for honey skyrockets, and beekeepers across the empire find themselves with a booming business. And then there are the gladiators, whose hygiene needs are quite unique. After a brutal fight in the arena, their bodies are covered in cuts, bruises, and blood. In the barracks, they have a special area for post-battle cleansing. Large vats of warm water are filled, and herbs with antiseptic properties are thrown in. The gladiators soak in the water, wincing as the herbs sting their open wounds. But they know this is essential for their survival and for their ability to fight another day. After the soak, they apply a thick, greasy ointment made from animal fats and more herbs to their injuries, hoping to speed up the healing process. As you observe all these different aspects of Roman hygiene, you realize that it's not just about being clean. It's deeply intertwined with social status, health beliefs, and cultural traditions. And there's always something new on the horizon, waiting to be discovered. Perhaps in the way the sailors on the merchant ships maintain their hygiene during long voyages across the Mediterranean. The sailors on the merchant ships, braving the vast expanse of the Mediterranean, have devised ingenious ways to stay clean amidst the rolling waves. Their lives are at the mercy of the sea, and hygiene becomes not just a matter of comfort, but one of survival. As the ship sways with the rhythm of the ocean, the sailors use the ship's fresh water sparingly. They ration it carefully, with each drop precious. Instead of daily baths, they rely on a simple yet effective method. They carry small containers of sand collected from the various ports they visit. When it's time to clean themselves, they rub the sand vigorously over their skin. The coarse texture helps to scrape away dirt and sweat, much like the strigil does on land. The sand also absorbs the excess oil, leaving their skin feeling somewhat refreshed. For their teeth, the sailors have another practical solution. They chew on pieces of dried seaweed. The seaweed has a slightly abrasive quality that helps to clean the teeth, and its natural iodine content is believed to keep the gums healthy. The taste is briny and strange, but over time they grow accustomed to it. When it comes to their clothes, the sailors take advantage of the sea itself. After a long period of wear, they throw their garments overboard, letting the salt water soak and wash them. Then they haul the clothes back on deck and let the strong sea breeze and the hot sun dry them. The salt residue left on the fabric acts as a natural deodorizer, masking the smell of sweat and hard work. On long voyages, when the ship is far from land for weeks at a time, the sailors create a sense of community around their limited hygiene practices. In the evenings, as the sun sets over the horizon, they gather on the deck. One sailor might share a small vial of a scented oil he acquired in a distant port. They pass it around, each taking a tiny drop to rub on their wrists or necks. The faint aroma of lavender or citrus cuts through the smell of the sea and the men, creating a moment of comfort and connection. When the ship finally docks at a port, the sailors rush to the nearest bathhouse. The sight of the grand thermae, or even the simple neighborhood bathhouses, is a welcome one. They revel in the luxury of warm water, soaking away the grime and stiffness of the long journey. The social aspect of the bathhouse is especially important to them. They swap stories with the locals and other sailors, sharing tales of their adventures at sea and learning about new hygiene practices from different cultures. But life at sea also brings unique health challenges. When a sailor falls ill, the ship's medic, often a fellow sailor with some knowledge of herbal remedies, steps in. They use the limited resources on board to treat the sick. For fevers, they might create a compress using damp cloths soaked in a mixture of vinegar and water, believing that the cooling properties will help bring down the temperature. For cuts and wounds, they apply a paste made from crushed herbs found on the ship, hoping to prevent infection. As the ships continue to crisscross the Mediterranean, carrying goods and people from one end of the empire to the other, they also carry with them the diverse hygiene practices of the places they visit. These practices blend and evolve, creating a rich tapestry of cleanliness in the Roman world. And perhaps in the imperial palaces hidden deep within the heart of the empire, the emperors are discovering new and even more luxurious ways to indulge in the art of hygiene. In the imperial palaces, nestled amidst lush gardens and ornate fountains, the emperor's pursuit of opulent hygiene reaches new heights. Special chambers are dedicated solely to bathing rituals, with floors heated by complex hypocaust systems that send warmth coursing through hidden channels beneath the marble. The walls are lined with precious stones and inlaid with gold, reflecting the flickering light of hundreds of candles, creating a soft, almost ethereal glow. When an emperor decides to bathe, it is a grand affair. Dozens of servants scurry about, preparing the bath. They fill the massive sunken tubs with water sourced from the purest mountain springs, carried in elaborate ceramic jars. Before the water is poured, rare and fragrant oils are added. Oils made from the petals of the most delicate roses from Persia, the sweet blossoms of Indian jasmine, and the exotic spices of the East are blended in precise proportions. The resulting aroma is intoxicating, a heady mix that fills the entire chamber. As the emperor steps into the bath, servants are at the ready with soft linen towels and an array of grooming tools. Instead of the common strigil, the emperor uses ones crafted from solid silver, intricately engraved with scenes of mythological heroes and gods. These are used not just for scraping away dirt, but as a symbol of power and luxury. After the initial scraping, the emperor is then treated to a massage with more of the precious oils, administered by skilled masseurs, who have been trained in the art of relaxation and rejuvenation. For skincare, the imperial court has developed a series of elaborate creams and ointments. One such cream is made from the milk of white asses mixed with ground pearls and saffron. It is said to give the skin a smooth, almost otherworldly glow. This cream is applied with the utmost care by handmaidens who use soft brushes made from the finest animal hair. Dental hygiene in the imperial household also takes on a more luxurious form. Instead of crushed bones and oyster shells, the emperors use a paste made from powdered ivory, mixed with honey and a touch of mint. The paste is stored in small jeweled containers and applied with tiny brushes made from the tails of rare birds. The mint not only freshens the breath, but also gives a pleasant, cooling sensation. Hair care is equally elaborate. The emperor's barbers are some of the most skilled in the empire. They use special combs made from tortoiseshell and gold and hair oils that are scented with a blend of lavender, rosemary, and myrrh. For styling, they use hot irons shaped in intricate designs to create curls and waves, often adorned with precious stones and pearls. But the imperial bathing rituals are not just about physical cleanliness. They are also steeped in politics and symbolism. When an emperor invites foreign dignitaries or important senators to join him in the bath, it is a sign of great favor. In these shared moments of relaxation, important decisions are often made, alliances are forged, and secrets are whispered amidst the steam. As the emperors continue to indulge in these luxurious hygiene practices, new trends are constantly emerging. Some emperors start to incorporate gemstones into their bathing routines. They believe that soaking in water with crushed emeralds or rubies will bestow magical properties, such as increased vitality or protection from evil. Meanwhile, in the far-flung corners of the empire, the common people watch and are inspired, trying in their own humble ways to bring a touch of the imperial elegance to their daily hygiene. Perhaps in the small villages where women start to mix a bit of wildflowers into their homemade face creams, hoping to capture a fraction of the imperial glow. In those small villages, the women's quest for a touch of imperial elegance in their hygiene routines leads to the discovery of new local ingredients. They gather wild chamomile, whose soft yellow petals, when steeped in warm water, create a gentle infusion. This chamomile, water is then used to wash their faces, leaving behind a faint, soothing scent and a feeling of freshness. Some even start to dry the chamomile flowers and grind them into a fine powder, which they mix with a bit of honey. The resulting paste is applied as a mask, tightening the skin and giving it a healthy, natural sheen. The village children, curious about these new practices, start to imitate the adults. They create their own miniature bathing rituals by the local streams. Using small pieces of smooth wood as makeshift strigils, they slather mud mixed with crushed leaves on their arms and legs, pretending to scrape away imaginary dirt. Their laughter rings out as they splash in the shallow water, their play a reflection of the importance of hygiene and grooming in their culture, passed down from the grander traditions of the city and the imperial court. In the nearby farms, farmers develop their own methods to stay clean after a long day of toiling in the fields. After working with animals, they use the ashes from their hearths to clean their hands. The fine, powdery ash helps to absorb the grease and dirt, and when washed off with water, leaves their skin feeling surprisingly clean. They also use the milk from their cows in a unique way. After milking, they dip a cloth in the warm milk and use it to wipe their faces, believing that the lactic acid in the milk helps to exfoliate and nourish their skin. As the seasons change, the villagers' hygiene habits adapt accordingly. In the winter, when the streams are cold and often partially frozen, they rely more on dry cleaning methods. They use brushes made from stiff plant fibers to brush the dirt off their clothes and bodies. Inside their small cottages, they huddle around the fireplace, and as they warm themselves, they also take the opportunity to air out their linens, hoping to keep them fresh despite the lack of outdoor sunlight. Traveling merchants passing through these villages bring with them new ideas and products from other parts of the empire. They sell small bars of soap made in the cities, a luxury that the villagers are eager to try. The soap, made from a combination of animal fats and lye, creates a rich lather that cleans more effectively than their traditional methods. The merchants also share stories of the latest bathing trends in the larger towns, such as the use of scented candles in the bathhouses to create a more relaxing atmosphere. In response, the villagers start to experiment with making their own scented candles. They gather beeswax from local beehives and add crushed herbs and flowers for fragrance. When lit in their small bathing areas, the candles not only provide light, but also fill the air with a pleasant aroma, making their simple bathing experiences feel a bit more luxurious. But hygiene in these rural areas isn't just about personal cleanliness. The villagers also take great care in keeping their homes and communal spaces clean. They sweep the dirt floors of their cottages daily, using brooms made from bundled twigs. In the village square, there are designated areas for waste disposal, and the villagers take turns ensuring that these areas are kept as clean as possible. They believe that a clean environment is essential for good health, and they have their own superstitions about uncleanliness attracting evil spirits. As these practices continue to evolve and spread throughout the villages, little do the villagers know that their humble innovations might one day inspire new trends in the larger cities. And perhaps in the bustling marketplaces of Rome, a merchant will hear of the villagers' use of chamomile in skincare and start to sell chamomile-based products, bringing the simple wisdom of the countryside to the heart of the empire. In the bustling marketplaces of Rome, the merchant who heard of the villagers' chamomile skincare indeed begins to sell jars of dried chamomile flowers and small bottles of chamomile infused oil. At first, the city dwellers are skeptical. They are used to more elaborate and expensive beauty products, but word spreads quickly when a well-known courtesan tries the chamomile oil and her skin appears softer and more radiant. Soon there are long lines at the merchant's stall, with women and men alike eager to get their hands on this new, rustic yet effective product. This leads to a wave of interest in other rural hygiene and beauty practices. Apothecaries start to experiment with combining the chamomile with other ingredients. They mix it with olive oil and beeswax to create rich creams that can be used as both moisturizers and cleansers. Some even add a touch of cinnamon or cloves, not only for their pleasant scent, but also for their believed antiseptic properties. The popularity of these rural-inspired products also has an impact on the bathhouses. Owners of the thermae begin to offer rustic baths, where the water is infused with chamomile, lavender, and other herbs. The steam in these special chambers carries the gentle, earthy scents, creating a more relaxing and natural bathing experience compared to the usual, more heavily perfumed baths. Patrons soak in the warm, herb-filled water, feeling as if they've been transported to the peaceful countryside. In the schools of Rome, children now learn not only about the traditional Roman hygiene practices, but also about these new, emerging trends. Teachers explain how different plants and herbs can be used for cleanliness and beauty, sparking the curiosity of the young students. Some children start to bring small bunches of herbs from their gardens to school, eager to share their findings with their classmates and teachers. Meanwhile, in the military camps, soldiers also take notice of these new developments. After long marches and battles, they often suffer from skin irritations and minor wounds. The chamomile-based products prove to be particularly useful. The soothing properties of chamomile help to calm irritated skin, and its antiseptic qualities assist in preventing infection in small cuts. Military medics start to request supplies of chamomile, infused oils and creams, and soon these items become standard in the soldiers' medical kits. The trend for rural-inspired hygiene doesn't stop at skincare. There is a growing interest in natural deodorants as well. People start to experiment with mixtures of crushed herbs, such as mint and sage, combined with arrowroot powder. These natural deodorants are not only effective at masking body odor, but also have a fresh, clean scent that is a welcome change from the more overpowering perfumes commonly used. As the demand for these natural products increases, there is a shift in the agricultural practices of the empire. Farmers in the countryside are now encouraged to grow more herbs and plants used in hygiene and beauty products. Specialized herb gardens start to appear, and the cultivation of chamomile, lavender, and mint becomes a profitable business. This, in turn, leads to the development of new harvesting and processing techniques to ensure the quality of the ingredients. But with the rise of these new trends, there are also those who are resistant to change. Traditionalists argue that the old Roman ways of hygiene, with their reliance on olive oil and strigils, are superior. They claim that the new, natural products are nothing more than passing fads. However, the popularity of these products continues to grow, and they start to influence even the most conservative segments of Roman society, perhaps even making their way into the imperial palaces, where the emperors and their courts might soon find themselves intrigued by the simple yet effective allure of these rustic hygiene practices. In the imperial palaces, rumors of the rustic hygiene trends from the countryside reach the ears of the empresses. Intrigued by the tales of simple yet effective skincare, they secretly commission their servants to obtain samples of the chamomile-based creams and natural deodorants. At first, the servants are hesitant, fearing that these humble products will not meet the empress's luxurious standards. But when the empresses try the chamomile-infused oil on their delicate skin, they are immediately enchanted by its gentle touch and the faint, calming scent. The empresses begin to incorporate these rural products into their daily beauty rituals. They replace some of their more elaborate, expensive face creams with the simple chamomile, beeswax mixtures, finding that their skin feels just as soft and looks even more refreshed. Word of the empress's newfound love for these rustic items spreads quickly throughout the court. Courtiers, always eager to imitate the imperial family, start to seek out these products for themselves. Soon, the imperial bathmasters are instructed to create a new type of bath experience that combines the opulence of the palace with the natural elements of the countryside. The grand tubs are filled with water not only scented with rare oils, but also infused with large bunches of fresh chamomile, lavender, and mint. The water takes on a soft pastel hue, and the steam that rises is a heady blend of the familiar luxurious scents and the new earthy aromas. The emperors, initially skeptical of these changes, are won over when they notice the relaxed and rejuvenated state of the empresses after their baths. They too begin to partake in the new bathing rituals. Special chambers are set up in the palaces, with walls decorated with mosaics depicting idyllic rural scenes of shepherds tending their flocks and women gathering herbs in the fields. In these chambers, the emperors can escape the stresses of ruling the empire and immerse themselves in the calming embrace of the nature-inspired bath. As the imperial court embraces these rustic hygiene trends, they undergo a transformation. The once overly perfumed and elaborate beauty and grooming practices start to incorporate more natural elements. Hairdressers begin to use fresh flowers and herbs as accessories in hairstyles, not just for their aesthetic appeal, but also for the pleasant scents they emit. Makeup artists experiment with natural dyes made from plants to create more subtle and earthy looks. This shift in the imperial court has a profound impact on the rest of the empire. The demand for high, quality herbs and plants used in these hygiene products skyrockets. Merchants now compete to bring the finest chamomile from the most fertile fields, the most fragrant lavender from the hillsides, and the freshest mint from the riverbanks to the markets of Rome. Entire regions of the empire specialize in the cultivation of these plants, and new trade routes are established to transport the raw materials efficiently. In the cities, new types of businesses emerge. There are now shops dedicated solely to selling natural hygiene and beauty products. These shops are decorated to evoke a sense of the countryside, with wooden shelves, earthenware jars, and hanging bunches of dried herbs. Customers can browse through a variety of products, from soaps made with local olive oil and herbs to bath salts infused with chamomile and rose petals. But as with any new trend, there are challenges. Some unscrupulous merchants try to profit by selling inferior products, passing off low, quality herbs or diluted oils as the real thing. To combat this, guilds are formed by the honest producers and sellers of natural hygiene products. These guilds set standards for quality, ensuring that customers can trust the products they buy. They also organize trade fairs, where the best products from different regions of the empire are showcased. As the trend continues to evolve, there is a growing sense of connection between the urban and rural parts of the empire. City dwellers now have a newfound appreciation for the simplicity and effectiveness of rural hygiene practices, while the farmers and villagers in the countryside see the value of their traditional knowledge and natural resources. And yet, amidst all this change, the timeless essence of Roman hygiene, the importance of cleanliness, community, and the pursuit of beauty, remains at the heart of it all, constantly adapting and growing with each new discovery, perhaps leading to the exploration of other natural wonders from the far reaches of the empire, like the exotic plants found in the distant deserts or the unique minerals from the deep mines. The exploration of new natural resources from the far reaches of the empire begins with expeditions sent out by curious scholars and enterprising merchants. In the distant deserts, explorers stumble upon a small, resilient plant with succulent leaves. The locals there have long used the plant's gel to soothe sunburned skin and protect against the harsh desert winds. Samples of the plant are carefully transported back to Rome, where scientists and apothecaries begin to study its properties. They discover that the gel not only has remarkable hydrating qualities, but also possesses antibacterial properties. This leads to the creation of a new line of skincare products. In the bathhouses, a desert oasis bath is introduced, where the water is mixed with the plant's gel, along with a hint of sandalwood oil to mimic the scents of the desert. Patrons soak in the milky, white water, feeling their skin become softer and more supple, as if they have been embraced by the desert's hidden secrets. Meanwhile, deep within the mind of the empire, miners unearth strange, colorful minerals. These minerals are brought to the attention of the imperial court, and alchemists are tasked with investigating their potential uses. After months of experimentation, they find that when ground into a fine powder and mixed with water, some of the minerals create a paste that can be used to whiten teeth more effectively than the traditional crushed bones and oyster shells. Dental hygiene in Rome undergoes a transformation. Specialized toothpaste shops open up in the city, offering a variety of mineral-based pastes. Some are scented with mint for freshness, while others have a subtle floral aroma. Alongside these new pastes, toothbrushes are also refined. Instead of simple chewing sticks or brushes made from bird tails, they are now crafted with bristles made from the hair of certain animals, and the handles are carved from the newly discovered minerals, making them not only functional but also elegant accessories. In the realm of hair care, the unique minerals find another use. A new hair treatment is developed where the powdered minerals are mixed with olive oil and applied to the hair. It is said to give the hair a shimmering, almost metallic sheen, and also helps to strengthen the strands. Women in the upper echelons of society start to sport hairstyles that showcase this newfound shine, often arranging their hair in elaborate updos to better display the glimmer of the mineral. Infused treatment. The discovery of these desert plants and minerals also influences the perfume industry. Perfumers experiment with combining the scents of the desert plant with the earthy aroma of the minerals, creating entirely new fragrance profiles. These perfumes are not only worn on the skin, but are also used to scent the bathhouses. Large burners filled with scented oils made from these new combinations are placed throughout the thermae, filling the air with exotic and alluring scents that transport bathers to distant, mysterious lands. As these new hygiene and beauty trends spread, they start to shape the cultural landscape of Rome. Artisans are inspired to create sculptures and mosaics that depict scenes from the desert and the mines, celebrating the discovery of these valuable resources. Poets write odes to the new, found plants and minerals, praising their beauty, enhancing and cleansing properties. And in the schools, children now learn about the far off regions of the empire, not just through history and geography lessons, but also through the lens of hygiene and beauty, sparking their imaginations about the wonders that lie beyond their city walls. Yet with these advancements, there are also concerns. The increased demand for the desert plants leads to harvesting in some areas, threatening the delicate desert ecosystem. Environmentalists within the empire begin to advocate for sustainable practices, urging that only a certain number of plants be harvested each season, and that efforts be made to replant them. Similarly, the mining of the precious minerals raises questions about the long-term impact on the mines and the surrounding areas. Despite these challenges, the quest for new and improved hygiene practices in Rome shows no signs of slowing down. There are whispers of other strange and wonderful substances in even more remote parts of the empire waiting to be discovered. And as the empire continues to expand and explore, who knows what other secrets the earth will reveal, further transforming the way Romans care for their bodies and embrace the art of cleanliness. Perhaps the next discovery will come from the depths of the ocean, where mysterious seaweeds and rare salts hold the promise of yet another revolution in Roman hygiene. Driven by the allure of the unknown, teams of divers and scholars set out to explore the depths of the Mediterranean. Equipped with rudimentary breathing apparatuses made from leather and reeds, they descend into the briny depths. Among the coral reefs and sunken shipwrecks, they stumble upon a thick, gelatinous seaweed unlike any they've seen before. Its fronds glow with a faint, bioluminescent light, and when touched, it releases a slippery substance that feels cool and soothing on the skin. Samples of this mysterious seaweed are carefully brought to the surface and rush back to Rome. Scientists in the imperial laboratories work tirelessly to understand its properties. They discover that the seaweed's gel is rich in nutrients and antioxidants. When applied to the skin, it not only hydrates but also seems to have a regenerative effect, reducing the appearance of fine lines and blemishes. This leads to a frenzy of activity in the beauty industry. Cosmetic makers race to create new products using the seaweed. Luxurious face masks are developed made from a blend of the seaweed gel, honey, and ground pearls. These masks are applied in the privacy of the wealthy's homes or in the exclusive chambers of the bathhouses. Women and men lie back, their faces covered in the cool, gooey mixture, as servants fan them gently, waiting for the mask to work its magic. In the bathhouses, a new Ocean's Embrace bathing experience is introduced. Large vats of water are filled with shredded pieces of the seaweed, which float like ghostly tendrils. The water takes on a faint, iridescent sheen, and as bathers soak, they feel a strange, almost otherworldly sensation as the seaweed clings gently to their skin, infusing it with moisture and nutrients. The scent of the seaweed is a mix of salt water and a hint of something floral, transporting bathers to an underwater paradise. The search for more oceanic treasures continues, and soon divers find deposits of rare salts on the ocean floor. These salts are different from the common table salt used in the empire. They are multicolored with hues of pink, purple, and blue, and have a rough, crystalline texture. When dissolved in water, they release minerals that are believed to have therapeutic properties. Bath salts made from these rare oceanic deposits become highly sought after. People believe that soaking in a bath infused with these salts can relieve joint pain, soothe tired muscles, and even improve one's mood. In the public bathhouses, special healing pools are created, filled with water laced with the precious salts. The sight of these pools with their swirling, colorful waters draws crowds from all over the city. The discovery of these oceanic resources also impacts the imperial diet. Scholars suggest that consuming small amounts of the seaweed, either raw or cooked, could provide numerous health benefits. Chefs in the imperial kitchens start to experiment with incorporating the seaweed into dishes, creating new and exotic recipes. A popular dish emerges where thin slices of the seaweed are wrapped around pieces of fresh fish, then grilled over an open flame, giving the fish a unique, briny flavor. As these ocean-inspired hygiene and culinary trends take hold, the relationship between Rome and its coastal regions strengthens. Fishing villages that once only supplied fish to the city now find a new source of income by harvesting seaweed and collecting the rare salts. Specialized boats are built to make these tasks easier, and a new industry centered around oceanic resources begins to thrive. However, the increased exploitation of the ocean raises concerns among the priests and priestesses of Neptune, the Roman god of the sea. They warn that overusing these oceanic treasures may anger the god, leading to storms and rough seas. In response, the imperial government establishes regulations on the harvesting of seaweed and the collection of salts, setting limits and designating certain areas as protected. Despite these precautions, the allure of the ocean's secrets remains strong. Explorers dream of venturing even deeper, to places where no Roman has ever been before. They imagine discovering even more extraordinary substances that could further revolutionize the way Romans live, clean, and beautify themselves. And as they prepare for their next underwater expeditions, the city of Rome waits with bated breath, eager to see what new wonders the ocean will reveal next. Perhaps there are ancient underwater caves filled with mysterious substances that could redefine hygiene in ways no one has yet imagined. Guided by tales of sunken ruins and whispered legends, a group of daring divers equipped with torches made from resin, soaked reeds descends into the darkest crevices of the ocean. After hours of swimming through swirling currents, they stumble upon an underwater cave system. Its entrance is framed by massive, jagged rocks, and a faint, eerie glow emanates from within, casting long shadows on the sandy seabed. As they cautiously make their way inside, the divers are met with a sight beyond their wildest dreams. The walls of the cave are lined with strange, pulsating organisms that look like living jewels. Some are a deep, royal purple, others a shimmering gold, and their surfaces seem to undulate in a rhythmic pattern. When touched, they release a fine, powdery substance that floats in the water like stardust. Samples of these organisms and the mysterious powder are carefully collected and brought back to the surface. Back in Rome, The imperial scientists are initially at a loss. They've never seen anything like these underwater creatures. Microscopes are adjusted, chemical tests are run, and after weeks of painstaking research, they make a remarkable discovery. The powder contains tiny particles that, when applied to the skin, create an invisible barrier. This barrier not only protects against dirt and bacteria, but also seems to slow down the aging process, keeping the skin firm and smooth. The beauty, obsessed elite of Rome go wild for this new divine powder. Special artisans are commissioned to create delicate, intricately carved boxes made from ivory and gold to hold the precious substance. Women spend hours in front of their mirrors using small brushes made from the finest silk fibers to apply the powder, ensuring that every part of their face and neck is covered. They believe that with this powder they can achieve an otherworldly beauty like that of the goddesses themselves. In the bathhouses, a new level of luxury is introduced. The most exclusive chambers now feature baths filled with water infused not only with seaweed and rare salts, but also with a few grains of the divine powder. The water takes on a faint, iridescent glow, and as bathers soak, they feel a tingling sensation, as if the powder is working its magic on a cellular level. Soft music plays in the background, and servants fan the bathers with palm fronds, enhancing the sense of indulgence. But the discovery doesn't stop at beauty. Physicians start to study the potential medical uses of the underwater organisms. They find that when boiled and made into a tea, a certain type of the pulsating creatures can help alleviate respiratory problems. In the hospitals and infirmaries of Rome, patients with coughs and wheezing are given this strange, tasting tea, and to the amazement of the doctors, many start to show signs of improvement. The demand for these underwater treasures skyrockets. More and more divers are sent to the cave. But as they harvest the organisms and collect the powder, they notice a disturbing change. The once vibrant walls of the cave are starting to lose their glow, and some of the organisms are withering away. Concerned citizens and environmentalists in Rome raise their voices, warning that the overexploitation of these underwater resources could have unforeseen consequences, not just for the cave ecosystem, but for the entire ocean. In response, the emperor summons a council of scientists, philosophers, and priests. They debate for days, trying to find a balance between the desire for these revolutionary substances and the need to protect the ocean. Finally, they decide to limit the harvesting to certain times of the year and to send teams of experts to the cave regularly to study and monitor the ecosystem. Despite these regulations, the allure of the underwater cave and its secrets continues to captivate the imagination of the Romans. Explorers dream of finding more such hidden places in the ocean, filled with substances that could change their lives in ways they can't even fathom. And as they set their sights on uncharted waters, the story of Roman hygiene continues to evolve, driven by the never-ending quest for cleanliness, beauty, and health. Perhaps the next discovery will come from the depths of a far-off sea, where ancient civilizations once thrived and left behind their own secrets of hygiene and well-being. News of the underwater cave's treasures spreads like wildfire across the empire's trade routes. Merchants, always on the lookout for the next lucrative commodity, set sail for distant shores in search of similar underwater wonders. A group of traders from Carthage, known for their fearless navigation skills, ventures into the uncharted waters of the Atlantic. After weeks of battling fierce storms, they stumble upon a submerged island, its ruins overgrown with strange, glowing coral formations. These corals exude a thick, viscous liquid that has a curious property. When mixed with water, it creates a frothy lather that cleanses skin and hair more effectively than any soap known to the Romans. The traders eagerly collect jars full of the substance and make their way back to Rome, where they sell their discovery at exorbitant prices. Soon, bathhouses across the city start offering Atlantic foam baths. The frothy, scented water rises in mounds, and bathers delight in the luxurious feeling of the foam as it gently caresses their skin. In the imperial court, the empresses are constantly on the lookout for new ways to enhance their beauty. They commission artists to create elaborate masks using the glowing coral. These masks, when placed over the face, not only add an otherworldly allure, but are also believed to have a rejuvenating effect on the skin. The soft glow of the coral is said to seep into the pores, banishing wrinkles and giving the complexion a radiant sheen. Ladies, in waiting, spend hours carefully applying the masks, arranging them just so to accentuate their mistress's features. Meanwhile, in the military camps, soldiers facing harsh conditions on the northern frontiers discover a local plant that grows near icy streams. This plant has long, fibrous leaves that, when chewed, act as a natural toothbrush. The texture of the leaves is rough enough to clean between the teeth, and they release a minty, like flavor that freshens the breath. The soldiers start to carry bundles of these leaves with them on their marches, and word of this simple yet effective dental hygiene method spreads throughout the legions. Commanders even begin to allocate space in the soldiers' packs specifically for the tooth cleaning plants, recognizing the importance of maintaining oral health in the field. Back in Rome, the influx of these new discoveries leads to the creation of a hygiene academy. Scholars, scientists, and artisans gather here to study, experiment, and innovate. They conduct comparative studies of different cleaning agents, from the strigils and olive oil of old to the new, fangled oceanic substances. They analyze how the changing seasons affect the efficacy of various beauty products and develop new formulas accordingly. For instance, during the dry, dusty summers, they create moisturizing creams that combine the hydrating properties of seaweed gel with the protective barrier of the divine powder. As the empire's knowledge of hygiene expands, so does its influence on neighboring cultures. Delegates from far off lands visit Rome to learn about these revolutionary practices. In return, they bring with them their own unique approaches to cleanliness, from the spice-infused baths of the East to the clay-based skin care of the tribes in the African savanna. These new ideas are incorporated into the ever-evolving Roman hygiene tapestry. But with all these advancements, there are still challenges. The increased trade in hygiene products leads to issues of counterfeiting. Rogue merchants try to pass off inferior imitations of the popular substances, diluting the seaweed gel or using cheap substitutes for the precious oceanic salts. To combat this, the Hygiene Academy develops a system of quality control, marking genuine products with unique seals that are difficult to replicate. As the sun sets over the Colosseum, casting a warm glow on the city's bathhouses, Romans of all walks of life continue their daily rituals of cleanliness. Whether it's a commoner using the fibrous leaves to clean their teeth or an empress adorned in a glowing coral mask, the pursuit of hygiene has become an integral part of Roman identity. And as the stars begin to twinkle in the night sky, explorers prepare for their next voyages, their hearts filled with a hope of uncovering more secrets that will further transform the way they care for themselves. Perhaps in the frozen waters of the Arctic, there lies a substance that can withstand the harshest cold and still provide comfort and cleanliness. In the frozen expanse of the Arctic, Roman explorers bundled in furs and animal hides trudged through waist-deep snow. Their expedition, funded by a wealthy patrician obsessed with rare cosmetics, seeks a rumored ice flower that thrives in sub-zero temperatures. After weeks of braving howling winds, they find it, a pale, crystalline bloom that exudes a thick, waxy sap when touched. The sap remains solid in the cold but melts into a silky oil when held in the hand. Its scent a sharp blend of pine and frost. Back in Rome, the sap becomes an instant sensation among the elite. Apothecaries mix it with beeswax to create a balm that protects skin from the harsh city winds. Ladies of the court apply it to their cheeks and lips, marveling at how the wax forms a transparent shield. Some even claim it makes their skin glow like the Arctic sun. In the bathhouses, attendants warm the sap until it becomes a liquid, then massage it into the scalps of wealthy patrons, promising to banish dryness caused by constant steaming. But the Arctic discovery also sparks a scientific curiosity. Scholars at the Hygiene Academy freeze the sap and study its molecular structure under primitive microscopes. They notice that when combined with seawater, it creates a foaming lather even in frigid temperatures, a breakthrough for soldiers stationed in cold climates. Soon, legions in Britannia are issued small tins of the Arctic soap, which they use to wash in icy rivers without freezing their hands. Meanwhile, on the eastern frontier, traders return from the Silk Road with a new import: blocks of scented soap from distant China. These soaps are made from animal fats and flower petals, and their exotic fragrances, peony, jasmine, and sandalwood, rival the empire's own perfumes. The soap blocks are initially a luxury for the wealthy, but as production methods are reverse engineered, smaller versions begin appearing in common market stalls. Housewives find them far more convenient than scraping with strigils, especially for washing children's clothes. In the imperial palace, the emperor commissions a world hygiene bath. The massive pool is divided into sections, each representing a different region's bathing traditions. One end filled with Atlantic foam, another with scented Chinese soap, a third with Arctic sap melted into warm milk. During a grand banquet, guests are invited to bathe in the multi-themed pool, where they can rub themselves with Egyptian coal, lined strigils, or rinse off with rosewater imported from Persia. The event becomes a symbol of Rome's cosmopolitanism, where hygiene practices from across the known world blend in a single steamy chamber. But not all innovations are welcomed. Traditionalists in the Senate decry the corruption of Roman values, arguing that the old ways, olive oil, strigils, and communal baths, are being replaced by foreign fripperies. A senator even delivers a speech comparing the use of Chinese soap to the decline of Spartan discipline, though his argument loses weight when it's revealed he owns 3 shops selling the very same soap. As these debates rage, a new trend emerges among the working class: mobile bath carts. These wooden wagons, pulled by donkeys, carry copper tubs and buckets of heated water through the city's slums. For a few coins, laborers can have a quick scrub down with recycled olive oil and a rented strigil. The carts become gathering places where news is exchanged over shared basins, and the scent of sweat and cheap oil becomes a marker of communal resilience. In the countryside, farmers adapt urban hygiene trends to their needs. They mix kitchen ashes with animal fat to create a crude soap for washing tools, and use the Arctic sap balm to soothe chapped hands from plowing. Children playing near streams mimic the bathhouse rituals of the wealthy, using hollowed out gourds as miniature tubs and moss as sponges. As the empire's borders expand, so does its library of hygiene knowledge. Explorers returning from Africa bring back shea butter, which is found to heal sunburns. Sailors from the Indian Ocean introduce coconut oil, perfect for detangling saltwater, damaged hair. Each new discovery is cataloged in the Hygiene Academy's scrolls, creating a vast compendium that future generations will study, though none can predict how these practices will evolve when Rome eventually fades into history. But for now, as the sun rises over the Thermae of Caracalla, Steam billows from its domes, mixing with the scent of lavender, rose, and distant Arctic pine. Inside, a senator scrapes his skin with a silver strigil, while a slave boy lathers Chinese soap onto a gladiator's back. In the next chamber, a merchant's wife applies shea butter to her daughter's arms, telling stories of the elephants that roam the lands where it was harvested. And in the quiet corners, where old men soak in warm water, they still whisper tales of the first Romans who bathed in the Tiber, long before the world's wonders came to their shores. The water laps gently against the marble, carrying with it the echoes of 1,000 hygiene rituals, each a drop in the ever-flowing stream of human care. And as the day wears on, the steam rises higher, carrying these stories to the rafters, where they mingle with the dust of centuries, waiting to be rediscovered in the baths of tomorrow. As the afternoon sun casts long shadows across the Therme's mosaic floors, a group of scholars from the Hygiene Academy gathers in a quiet annex. They unroll a papyrus scroll inscribed with faded Greek letters, a treatise on water cures found in the Library of Alexandria. The text describes a practice of soaking in mineral, rich springs to heal ailments, and the scholars debate whether Rome's public baths could be adapted to include such therapeutic waters. Meanwhile, in the women's section of the Thermae, a visiting noblewoman from Judea demonstrates a new method of hair care. She rinses her locks in diluted lemon juice, claiming it brightens her hair and repels lice. The scent of citrus mingles with the usual aroma of olive oil, piquing the curiosity of nearby bathers. In the imperial gardens, slaves tend to a new variety of rose imported from Parthia, its petals a deep burgundy hue. The head gardener has discovered that steeping the petals in hot water creates a dye that not only colors fabrics but also leaves a lingering fragrance. This leads to the creation of perfumed linens, sheets and towels soaked in rosewater, which are placed in wooden chests to keep clothing fresh. Wealthy Romans begin to demand these linens for their closets, and soon the air of noble households is filled with the sweet scent of Parthian roses. On the outskirts of Rome, a group of freedmen opens a hygiene emporium, a one-stop shop for all things related to cleanliness. The store displays shelves of scented soaps, jars of Arctic sap balm, and racks of strigils made from bronze, iron, and even bone. A sign above the door advertises remedies for every ailment, from tooth powders to skin creams. Customers can browse at their leisure, consulting with clerks who offer advice on which products best suit their needs. A novel concept in a time when most goods were sold in noisy market stalls. Across the empire in the province of Gaul, a Roman legionnaire stationed near the Rhine River observes the local Celts using a strange substance to clean their bodies. They mix the ash of burnt nettles with animal fat, creating a dark, gritty paste that lathers when mixed with water. Intrigued, the legionnaire brings samples back to Rome, where the Hygiene Academy discovers that this Gallic soap is particularly effective at removing oil and grime from armor. Soon, the Roman army begins to requisition the soap for its soldiers, who find it far more efficient than the traditional olive oil and strigil method. In the heart of the city, a new form of entertainment emerges: hygiene pageants. Wealthy families sponsor events where slaves and servants compete in elaborate bathing rituals, showcasing the most innovative and luxurious practices. One pageant features a slave boy who demonstrates the art of applying the divine powder from the underwater cave, his movements precise and elegant. Another contestant creates a stunning display of foam using the Atlantic coral substance, shaping it into intricate designs that leave the audience in awe. These pageants not only entertain but also serve as a platform for showcasing the latest hygiene innovations. As evening falls, the Thermae take on a more intimate atmosphere. Candles are lit, casting a warm glow on the marble walls, and the sound of soft music fills the air. Bathers linger in the warm pools, engaging in quiet conversation or simply enjoying the peace. A group of philosophers debates the ethics of luxury hygiene, arguing whether the pursuit of beauty and cleanliness has gone too far. Meanwhile, in a secluded corner, a young couple shares a private moment, using scented oils to massage each other's skin, their actions a testament to the role hygiene plays in romance and connection. In the days that follow, news arrives from the eastern frontier of a new and mysterious disease spreading through the ranks of the army. The Hygiene Academy springs into action, researching ways to prevent the spread of the illness. They recommend frequent washing with soap and water, a practice that was once considered excessive but is now seen as a matter of public health. Soldiers are issued personal soap bars and instructed to wash their hands and bodies regularly, a simple act that helps to stem the tide of the disease. As the years pass, Rome's hygiene practices continue to evolve and adapt. New discoveries are made, old traditions are forgotten and rediscovered, and the concept of cleanliness becomes increasingly intertwined with notions of health, beauty, and social status. Yet, through it all, the essence of Roman hygiene remains, a belief in the power of water, warmth, and community to cleanse not just the body, but the soul as well. And so, as the moon rises over the eternal city, the Thermae continue to glow in the night, their steam rising like a silent prayer into the heavens. Inside, people from all walks of life gather to wash, relax, and connect, carrying on a tradition that has endured for centuries. The water laps against the sides of the pools, whispering stories of ancient practices and new innovations, and the scent of soap, oil, and flowers fills the air, a testament to the enduring legacy of Roman hygiene. As the moon climbs higher, casting silver light through the Thermae's arched windows, a traveling physician from Alexandria sets up a small table near the caldarium. He unloads jars of ground frankincense, myrrh, and a mysterious black powder made from charred olive pits. For purifying the blood, he murmurs to a curious bather, sprinkling the powder into a cup of warm water. The man drinks it with a grimace, but the physician's calm demeanor, combined with the exotic scent of resins, draws a crowd. Soon, lines form for his cleansing drafts, blending Egyptian alchemy with Roman trust in warm liquids. In the women's quarters, a slave girl from Syria demonstrates a new method of depilatory paste. She mixes quicklime with honey and applies it to her arm, waiting until the mixture dries before ripping it off in one swift motion. The onlookers gasp at the smoothness of her skin, and within days, every noblewoman in Rome is demanding the Syrian secret. Apothecaries rush to replicate the formula, though some unfortunate attempts result in irritated skin, prompting the Hygiene Academy to issue warnings about the dangers of untested exotic practices. Down in the city's sewers, engineers inspect the aqueduct system that feeds the Thermae. They notice a curious side effect of the soap and oil runoff. The normally foul-smelling channels now carry a faint scent of lavender and cedar. The chief engineer, a practical man, notes in his ledger that perfumed waste flows more sweetly, though he privately wonders if the gods might appreciate the gesture. Nearby, children play in the shallow runoff, using sticks to make patterns in the scented muck. A far cry from the grand baths above, but a reminder that hygiene's influence seeps into every corner of life. At midnight, a group of priests enters the Thermae for a secret ritual. They believe the stillness of night enhances water's ability to carry prayers. And they dip silver chalices into the frigidarium, murmuring incantations to Janus, the god of beginnings. The water in their chalices is later distributed to new mothers who wash their infants' foreheads with it, hoping to bless them with a life of cleanliness and clarity. This blend of religious practice and hygienic custom becomes a quiet tradition, passed down through generations of Roman matrons. In the imperial mint, workers experiment with stamping images of bathhouses onto new coins. The reverse side features a simplified thermi design, complete with domes and steaming pools, while the obverse bears the emperor's face. These bath coins are intended to symbolize the empire's prosperity and commitment to public health. Merchants soon notice that customers prefer to pay with these coins, perhaps because the image of warm water evokes a sense of comfort and community. On the edge of the city, a poor widow converts her tiny home into a neighborhood scrub house. She heats water over a fire and rents out a wooden tub by the hour, providing a strigil and a small jar of recycled olive oil to each customer. Though far from luxurious, her establishment fills a need for those who can't afford the thermes fees. Regulars bring their own soap scraps and share stories while waiting their turn, creating a tight-knit community bound by the simple act of getting clean. As the first rays of dawn streak across the sky, the thermae begin to stir with the day's first visitors. A group of wrestlers enters the palaestra, rubbing themselves with sand to improve their grip. Their coach, an old gladiator, watches them from the sidelines, muttering about how real Romans used to fight in the dirt, not primp in scented water. But even he can't deny the effectiveness of the new Gallic soap in removing the grime from their muscles. In the Academy's laboratories, scholars continue to push the boundaries of hygiene. They distill rosewater into a concentrated essence, create toothpicks from bone, and even attempt to fashion reusable sponges from a strange, absorbent plant found in the Nile. Their latest project involves capturing the steam from the caldarium and condensing it into what they call pure water, a concept that challenges the traditional belief that all water is imbued with the god's essence. And so the cycle continues. Discoveries are made, traditions are questioned, and innovations big and small shape the way Romans care for themselves. From the grandest thermae to the humblest scrub, house, the pursuit of cleanliness weaves through the fabric of daily life, a constant thread that connects rich and poor, citizen and slave, god and mortal. As the sun climbs higher, the steam rises once more, carrying with it the hopes, fears, and dreams of a civilization that has learned, above all else, that in warmth and water there is both comfort and community. As the morning sun floods the thermes atrium, a group of children from the local primary school files in, led by a stern teacher. They carry wax tablets and styluses tasked with observing and sketching the ancient tools of hygiene. A young boy marvels at a display of bronze strigils, tracing their curved edges with his finger, while a girl wrinkles her nose at a jar of aged olive oil, its scent mingling with the fresh pine cones scattered to mask odors. The teacher raps his cane on the marble, reminding them that cleanliness is next to godliness, a phrase newly imported from Greek philosophy, now inscribed above the bathhouse doors. In the imperial villa of a wealthy patrician, a visiting poet from Athens is treated to a private bath. Slaves pour rosewater into the tub, then sprinkle it with gold flakes, claiming the metal's purity enhances the water's cleansing power. The poet, used to Spartan simplicity, is both amused and disturbed by the extravagance. He later writes a satire about Romans who bathe in wealth, but secretly admits that the gold, flecked water did leave his skin unusually smooth. Down by the Tiber, fishermen notice a strange phenomenon. The river's water, normally murky and foul, has taken on a faint iridescence. They blame it on the gods, but a Hygiene Academy intern investigating the aqueduct runoff realizes it's caused by the cumulative effect of thousands of baths, olive oil, soap, and scented residues reflecting the morning light. He notes in his journal that the city's cleanliness now flows through its veins, unaware that this observation will one day inspire studies on urban water systems. In the marketplace, a vendor sells a new invention, a portable steam box. Shaped like a miniature oven, it uses hot coals to generate steam, allowing travelers to bathe in their tents or carts. Wealthy merchants eager to maintain their hygiene on long journeys snap them up, though one unfortunate customer nearly sets his wagon on fire by placing the box too close to dry hay. The incident leads to the first hygiene safety regulations posted in public squares alongside laws about chariot traffic. At midday, a group of Vestal virgins enters the thermae for their monthly purification ritual. They wear white linen tunics and carry silver vials of holy water, which they sprinkle over the pools before bathing. The ordinary bathers fall silent, watching as the virgins move with grace and solemnity. One young woman, newly initiated, shivers at the water's warmth. She's used to the cold baths of the temple, where cleanliness is linked to austerity. A priestess notices her discomfort and murmurs. Even the gods appreciate a warm soak now and then. In the military camp of the 9th Legion, stationed in Britannia, a centurion tests a radical idea. He orders his men to dig a communal bath fed by a nearby hot spring. The legionnaires, used to cold river washes, grumble at first but soon embrace the luxury. They even add local heather to the water, creating a scent that reminds them of home. When word reaches Rome, the emperor commissions a series of military bathhouses across the empire, recognizing that clean, relaxed soldiers are better fighters. Back in the city, a playwright debuts a new comedy set in a thermae. The plot revolves around a senator who loses his precious jade strigil and suspects a slave of stealing it, only to discover it fell into a pool of scented oil. The audience roars with laughter at the satire of upper class vanity, but also nods in recognition at the familiar scenes of gossip, flirtation, and hygiene. Related mishaps that unfold on stage. As afternoon shadows lengthen, a team of workers begins renovations on the thermae of Diocletian. They uncover a layer of ancient bricks beneath the marble, inscribed with Etruscan symbols, reminders that Rome's bathing traditions predate even the Republic. The head architect orders the bricks preserved, incorporating them into a new Hall of Hygiene history, where visitors can trace the evolution of cleanliness from primitive Etruscan rituals to the empire's elaborate practices. In the quiet hours before sunset, a group of philosophers gathers in the tepidarium for a debate on the ethics of scent. One argues that strong perfumes mask nature's true smells, while another counters that fragrance elevates the human experience. A Stoic philosopher remains silent, instead observing how the steam carries their words like a physical manifestation of their ideas. Just as water carries dirt away, it also carries thoughts to new minds. And so the day ends as it began, with water lapping against marble, steam rising toward the heavens, and the scent of 1,000 hygiene practices filling the air. From the simplest scrub in a neighborhood tub to the most elaborate imperial bath, each ritual is a testament to Rome's enduring belief that cleanliness is not just a necessity, but an art, a way to connect with the gods, with others, and with the very essence of what it means to be human. As the last bathers depart, the water in the pools ripples gently, carrying their stories into the night, where they mingle with the stars and the whispers of all who have ever sought warmth and cleanliness under the Roman sky. As night falls, the thermae take on an otherworldly glow, their marble surfaces reflecting the torchlight in dancing patterns. A group of astrologers enters the frigidarium, convinced that the alignment of the moon with Saturn enhances water's ability to reveal future visions. They dip polished bronze mirrors into the cold water, interpreting the ripples as omens, though their predictions of a great cleansing are met with skepticism from a passing guard who mutters about scholars and their fancy baths. In the imperial palace, the empress experiments with a new beauty treatment. She has her servants collect dew from rose petals at dawn, believing it possesses magical properties. The dew is mixed with ground pearls and applied to her face as a mask, which dries to a delicate film. As she waits for it to set, she dictates letters to her scribe, her voice muffled by the tight, fitting mask. When it's removed, her attendants gasp at the alleged radiance, though the scribe privately notes that the only visible change is a faint shimmer from the pearl dust. Down in the city's slums, a resourceful mother creates a family bath in a wooden barrel. She heats water over a fire, then adds a handful of lavender buds she found in the marketplace. Her children splash happily, oblivious to the luxury of the thermi above. For them, the warm water and gentle scent are pure joy. The mother smiles as she washes their hair, using a bit of leftover soap scraped from a noble's discard, grateful for the simple pleasure of cleanliness. At midnight, a secret society of artisans meets in the tunnels beneath the thermae. They're working on a revolutionary project, a system of pipes to deliver hot water directly to wealthy homes. The tunnels echo with the clanging of hammers and the hiss of steam as they test different metals and fittings. One craftsman, covered in soot, marvels at how a network of copper tubes can bring the warmth of the thermi to private chambers, though he worries about the cost, knowing such luxury will remain out of reach for most Romans. In the province of Africa, a Roman colonist discovers a deposit of natural pumice stone. He ships crates of the lightweight, porous rock to Rome, where it becomes an instant hit in the bathhouses. Patrons use the pumice to exfoliate their skin, marveling at how it sloughs off dead cells without scratching. Apothecaries soon start selling pumice stones rubbed with scented oils, turning a practical tool into a luxurious accessory. Back in the city, a traveling salesman from Carthage introduces a new concept: bath tokens. These small clay discs can be exchanged for a visit to the thermae, making it easier for workers to pay for their baths without carrying coins. The tokens become so popular that counterfeiters emerge, producing fake discs with crudely stamped images of bathhouses. The Hygiene Academy is forced to intervene, creating a system of official seals to authenticate the tokens. As the first cock crows, a group of early risers enters the thermae for a dawn cleanse. They believe that washing at the break of day harnesses the sun's renewing energy. An elderly man, a regular at these early sessions, dips his hands into the water and whispers a prayer to Sol Invictus, the unconquered sun. Next to him, a young athlete performs stretches in the warm pool. Preparing for the day's training, both united by the belief that cleanliness and wellness go hand in hand. In the Academy's archives, a scholar uncovers a long, forgotten scroll from the time of the Republic. It describes a primitive form of soap made from animal fat and wood ash used by soldiers to clean their armor. The scholar compares it to the sophisticated soaps of today, marveling at how far Roman hygiene has come. He writes a treatise on the evolution of cleanliness, tracing the journey from practical necessity to refined art. And so the cycle begins anew, with each day bringing new discoveries, old traditions, and the constant ebb and flow of water through the heart of Rome. From the grandest thermae to the humblest barrel bath, the pursuit of cleanliness continues to shape the lives of Romans, connecting them across social divides and through the passage of time. As the sun rises once more, casting its golden light on the steam-filled chambers, the water whispers stories of innovation, community, and the enduring human desire to be clean, warm, and together. As the morning mist lifts from the Tiber, a barge loaded with amphorae of Gaulish soap navigates the river. The captain, a weathered veteran, chuckles at the irony. Once he hauled wine for feasts, now he transports bars of scented fat. Nearby, washerwomen beat laundry on river stones, using the soapy runoff from the thermae to boost their cleaning power. A child watches in fascination as sudsy bubbles float downstream, wondering if the gods themselves bathe in such fragrant foam. In the Palatine Hills Imperial Gardens, a horticulturist experiments with crossbreeding roses for their scent. He grafts a Parthian burgundy rose with a native Roman variety, creating a bloom that smells of honey and spice. The empress commissions the flowers for her bath, and soon the Thermes pools are dotted with floating petals that release their fragrance in the steam. A visiting diplomat from Persia remarks that the Romans turn bathing into a perfumed poem, unaware his own culture's love of rosewater inspired the trend. Deep in the catacombs, Christian converts hold a secret meeting. They discuss whether public baths, with their nude socializing and pagan iconography, are sinful. An elder argues that cleanliness honors the temple of the body, while a young scribe frets about the bath's immoral distractions. Eventually, they compromise. They will bathe in private, using simple soap and water, but never forget that true purity comes from within. This quiet debate foreshadows how hygiene will later become intertwined with religious identity. At midday, a group of gladiators enters the Thermes Palaestra. Their trainer, a one-armed veteran, barks orders as they rub sand into their skin. The sand mimics the arena's dirt, he growls, so you'll fight cleaner when it matters. But the youngest gladiator, fresh from Thrace, sneaks off to try the new pumice stones. He returns with smooth, uncalloused hands, earning a scolding from the trainer, until a veteran gladiator notes that the pumice removes blisters better than any oil. In the Jewish quarter, a rabbi debates with his students about ritual purity. They discuss the mikvah, the Jewish ritual bath, and how it differs from Roman thermae. Our waters cleanse the soul, the rabbi says, gesturing to a nearby mikvah, while their baths cleanse the body. A student asks if there's virtue in both, prompting a long discussion about how physical cleanliness can complement spiritual purity, a thought that will later influence both Roman and Jewish hygiene practices. Down by the aqueduct's terminus, engineers install a new filtration system. They layer sand, gravel, and charcoal in stone basins, creating the first known water filters in the empire. The water that emerges is clearer and tastier, leading to a surge in public health. Children no longer sicken as often from contaminated water, and the engineers proudly carve their names into the filter walls, alongside images of water nymphs and dolphins. As evening approaches, a group of prostitutes gathers in a seedy bathhouse. They mix cheap wine with olive oil to create a makeshift moisturizer, laughing at the noble women who pay fortunes for similar concoctions. One of them, a former slave, shows them how to use crushed berries as lip stain, saying, "Beauty doesn't need gold, just a sharp eye and a little resourcefulness." Their camaraderie in the steamy, dimly lit room is a reminder that hygiene, even in its simplest forms, can create community. In the Academy's laboratory, a scientist accidentally discovers distillation while trying to concentrate rosewater. He heats the liquid in a copper still, collects the steam, and condenses it into a clear, intensely fragrant liquid, one of the first essential oils. The discovery revolutionizes perfumery, allowing scents to be more concentrated and long-lasting. Soon, tiny vials of liquid perfume become prized possessions, traded like gold among the elite. As the moon rises, a thief creeps into the thermae, hoping to steal valuable oils. He slips in through a back door, only to be startled by a night watchman. In the chase, he knocks over a jar of divine powder, which spills into a pool. The water glows faintly, and the thief, transfixed, forgets to run. The watchman, instead of arresting him, murmurs, "Even thieves can be awed by cleanliness." They stand together for a moment, watching the glowing water until the thief quietly leaves, empty-handed but somehow changed. And so the stories of Roman hygiene continue to unfold, written in steam and soap, in laughter and debate, in the grand and the humble. Each drop of water carries with it the dreams, fears, and innovations of a civilization that understood, above all, that to bathe is to be human, to seek warmth, to connect, and to leave the world a little cleaner than we found it. As the empire waxes and wanes, these practices will endure, carried by conquerors and traders, slaves and nobles, into the far reaches of time, where they will mingle with the hygiene traditions of other cultures, creating a legacy as endless as the tides of the Mediterranean. As the first light of dawn filters through the thermae's stained glass windows, a group of monks from the east arrives in Rome, their robes heavy with the dust of long travel. They carry with them a strange belief that prolonged fasting and minimal bathing bring one closer to the divine. In the bustling city, their unwashed appearance and pungent odor draw stares, but a few curious Romans listen as they speak of spiritual cleanliness surpassing physical hygiene. This idea plants a seed that will later grow into ascetic traditions, challenging Rome's centuries-old love of baths. In the imperial mint, a new coin is struck, featuring a thermae with its domes crumbling, symbolizing the empire's decline. Ironically, the coin's design inspires a wealthy merchant to fund the restoration of a dilapidated bathhouse in the suburbs. Laborers uncover a mosaic floor depicting a satyr holding a strigil, its smile frozen in time. As they repair the pools, they mix lime with the ancient mortar, unknowingly creating a stronger seal that will outlast the empire itself. On the northern frontier, a Roman legionnaire stationed in Germania observes the local tribes using saunas. Intrigued by the practice of pouring water on hot stones to create steam, he builds a makeshift sauna for his fellow soldiers. The dry heat proves effective at killing lice and soothing aching muscles, and soon, German saunas become popular in military camps, blending with Roman bathing rituals to form a new hybrid practice. In the Jewish ghetto, a physician combines Hebrew medical texts with Roman hygiene knowledge. He writes a treatise on cleanliness and sickness, recommending frequent hand-washing and the use of vinegar to disinfect wounds. His work is copied by Christian scribes, who add prayers to Saint Sebastian alongside practical advice, merging spiritual and physical healing in a way that will define medieval medicine. Down by the Tiber, a fisherman nets a jar filled with ancient Etruscan bath salts. The salts, preserved in clay, release a musky scent when dissolved in water. He sells them to a curious apothecary who uses them to create a vintage fragrance that becomes a hit among collectors of the exotic. The trend sparks a craze for archaeological cosmetics, with wealthy Romans paying fortunes for crumbling pots of millennia-old face paint. In the Academy's library, a scholar translates an Egyptian papyrus about bathing in milk. Inspired, he persuades a local dairy to supply the thermae with fresh goat's milk. The milk baths become a luxury for the elite, who claim the lactic acid softens their skin. Servants are tasked with straining the milk to remove any curds, and the resulting whey is sold to commoners as a cheaper alternative, creating a new class of milk washers. As the empire weakens, private bathhouses in villas are converted into storage or chapels. In one such villa, a Christian family removes the marble statues of Venus and replaces them with crosses, but keeps the hypocaust heating system. They justify this by saying, God prefers warm prayers to cold ones, and continue to bathe modestly in the converted space, preserving the practice while changing its meaning. On the streets, a group of children play bathhouse, using overturned buckets as tubs and sticks as strigils. They charge each other imaginary coins and pretend to be wealthy patrons, gossiping about made-up scandals. Their game reflects the central role of baths in Roman life, even as the empire itself begins to crumble. An old man watching them smiles, remembering when he too played such games before the grand thermae of his youth. In the final days of the Western Empire, a barbarian chieftain conquers Rome and is amazed by its thermae. Though his people prefer cold river baths, he is won over by the warmth and grandeur of the Roman baths. He orders his soldiers to spare the thermae during the sack, and soon even the conquerors can be seen soaking in the pools, using strigils awkwardly but with appreciation. This marks the beginning of how Roman hygiene practices will be adopted and adapted by the barbarian tribes. As the last emperor of the West is deposed, a lone scholar in the Hygiene Academy seals away the scrolls of knowledge in a lead chest. He carves a message on the lid, "Cleanliness is memory." The chest is buried beneath the ruins of a bathhouse, where it will lie for centuries, waiting to be discovered by future generations who will rediscover the lost art of Roman hygiene. And so the story of Roman hygiene does not end, but transforms, flowing like water through the cracks of time, seeping into the cultures that succeed Rome. From the barbarian saunas to medieval monastic washrooms, from Renaissance perfumeries to modern day spas, the echoes of those steamy thermae, those bronze strigils, and that ever-present scent of olive oil continue to linger. For in the end, the Romans taught the world that cleanliness is more than a habit. It's a tradition, a luxury, a necessity, and a bridge between the past and the future, where every drop of warm water carries with it the memory of a civilization that knew how to bathe, and in doing so, how to live. Centuries later, in the dimly lit chambers of a 15th century Italian monastery, a young novice stumbles upon the lead chest while sweeping beneath a pile of rubble. Engraved with faded Latin, the chest's message piques his curiosity. With trembling hands, he pries it open to reveal yellowed scrolls detailing Roman bathing rituals, from the construction of hypocaust systems to the precise ratios of olive oil and sand. The novice, himself weary from fasting and cold ablutions, marvels at the scroll's descriptions of communal warmth and scented waters. He secretly copies the texts, slipping mentions of thermae and strigils into his monastery's medical compendium, blending pagan wisdom with Christian humility. In the bustling markets of Constantinople, now Istanbul, a trader from Venice barters for a set of bronze strigils found in a sunken Roman ship. The curved tools, tarnished by seawater, catch the eye of a local bathhouse owner. He adapts them as decorative motifs for his hammam, engraving their spiral patterns onto copper basins. Soon, Ottoman bathers begin using smooth river stones to mimic the scraping motion, unaware they're reviving a practice from Rome's distant past. The strigil's design even influences the ornate metalwork of coffeehouse trays, where their curves become a symbol of luxury. In 18th century Paris, a physician reads an ancient manuscript describing Roman milk baths. Inspired, he prescribes warm donkey milk soaks for his aristocratic patients, claiming it cures everything from smallpox to melancholy. The trend explodes. Marie Antoinette commissions a gilded milk bathtub, and peasants sell donkey milk by the bucket to apothecaries. Meanwhile, in the French countryside, villagers mix wood, ash, and animal fat to create soap, unknowingly replicating the Gallic soap used by Roman legionnaires. Their rough, hewn bars wrapped in linen find their way to Parisian markets, labeled peasant's remedy. Across the Atlantic, in colonial America, a Puritan minister discovers a book on Roman hygiene while studying at Harvard. Horrified by descriptions of nude bathing, he preaches against the sinful luxury of warm waters. But his congregation, enduring harsh winters, secretly builds wooden tubs in their barns using lye soap made from kitchen ashes. Children giggle as they mimic strigil, scraping with corn cobs, unaware their playful act connects them to a forbidden past. When the Revolutionary War breaks out, soldiers use hollowed gourds to wash in camp, recalling the mobile bath carts of ancient Rome. In Victorian England, archaeologists excavating the ruins of Pompeii unearth a perfectly preserved thermae. The discovery sparks a craze for Roman bathing, with wealthy families constructing indoor pools lined with faux marble. A London entrepreneur opens the Gallic Soap Emporium, selling bars scented with lavender and rosemary, advertised as authentically Roman. Working-class families, unable to afford private baths, queue at public washhouses where they soak in communal tubs while reading pamphlets about Pompeii's tragic end, a morbid reminder of hygiene's fragility. In the 20th century, a chemist in Berlin studies the scrolls from the monastery chest, intrigued by a recipe for oceanic powder. She synthesizes a silicone-based barrier cream inspired by the Roman divine powder, which becomes essential for soldiers in the harsh North African desert. Meanwhile, in Japan, a ceramic artist visiting Rome's baths of Caracalla is inspired by their vaulted ceilings, creating steam rooms with overlapping tile roofs that mimic the thermae's architecture. His modern onsen becomes a symbol of merging ancient Roman and Japanese bathing traditions. Today, in a digital age, the legacy of Roman hygiene lives on in unexpected ways. A skincare brand markets a Strigil exfoliating tool, its silicone bristles shaped like the ancient bronze scrapers. Archaeologists use 3D scanning to reconstruct the thermae of Diocletian, allowing virtual visitors to bathe in its steam-filled halls. Even the term spa, derived from the Latin salus per aquam, health through water, echoes Rome's belief in water's healing power. And in community centers from New York to Tokyo, public baths thrive, where strangers gather in warmth, gossiping and relaxing, just as Romans did 2,000 years ago. As the sun sets over the ruins of the Thermae of Titus, their marble now covered in graffiti and ivy, a group of teenagers sneaks in to take selfies in the crumbling pools. One of them, scrolling through a history app, reads about how Romans used urine as a teeth whitener. They wrinkle their noses in disgust, then laugh, realizing that even in the pursuit of cleanliness, humans have always been wonderfully, weirdly human. The last rays of sunlight catch the edge of a broken strigil embedded in the stone, its curve still glinting. A silent reminder that from the earliest baths to the latest skincare trends, the story of hygiene is always flowing, always changing, but never truly gone. And so the water of time carries us forward, each generation adding its own scents and rituals to the great communal bath of human history. Whether we soak in a hammam, a hot spring, or a bubble bath, we are all, in some way, dipping our toes into the same warm pool that first steamed in ancient Rome. forever connected by the simple, essential act of wanting to be clean together. In the quiet dawn of a future city, robotic drones hover over the excavated ruins of a Roman thermae, their sensors mapping the intricate Hippocaust channels beneath the ground. School children in AR headsets walk through a virtual reconstruction, watching as AI-generated figures demonstrate how olive oil was applied before scraping with strigils. A young girl touches her wristband, which releases a mist of lavender, scented nanobubbles, a modern take on Roman perfumes. See, her teacher's voice echoes in her ear. They used physical tools, but we used molecular ones, yet both seek the same comfort. In a biotech lab, scientists analyze DNA from 2,000-year-old soap residue found in Pompeii. They discover ancient bacteria that thrived in alkaline environments, inspiring a new line of symbiotic skincare that mimics Rome's natural cleaning methods. The products come in recycled ceramic jars shaped like amphorae, with QR codes linking to animations of gladiators using strigils. One advert shows a modern athlete scraping a silicone strigil over their skin, the motion identical to that of a Roman wrestler in the lab's historical database. On Mars, the first human colonists build a pressurized bathhouse using 3D printed regolith. They pipe in recycled water scented with synthetic versions of the Arctic sap and seaweed gel discovered by ancient Romans. During weekly thermi nights, colonists don togas made from recycled spacesuit material, debating whether to use ultrasonic cleaners, faster, or manual scrubbing, more authentic. A young colonist, homesick for Earth's oceans, programs the bath's hologram to project images of the Mediterranean, complete with the scent of salt water and the faint echo of lapping waves. Back on Earth, in a post-climate crisis world, communities revive the Roman practice of communal bathing to conserve water. In Shanghai, a vertical thermae rises through a skyscraper, with each floor dedicated to a different historical bathing tradition. One level recreates the Arctic sap baths, another the Gallic soap chambers. Residents trade water credits for time in the pools, and old timers tell stories of how their grandparents used to bathe alone in private showers, a concept as foreign to the children as strigils once were. Archaeologists on the moon discover a cache of 21st century skincare products in a preserved lunar base. Among the serums and masks, they find a jar labeled Roman-inspired exfoliating clay, its ingredients list including olive oil and pumice. The find sparks a debate. Did this generation unknowingly continue Rome's legacy, or was it mere marketing? A historian points out that the jar's design, with its marble effect labeling, mirrors the way ancient Romans themselves often revived Etruscan bathing styles, proving that nostalgia for the past is itself a timeless hygiene tradition. In a distant future, long after humanity has left Earth, an alien probe investigates the planet's ruins. It scans the thermae's foundations, registering traces of soap, oil, and even the faint radioactive signature of the divine powder's underwater organisms. The probe transmits data back to its homeworld. Species Homo sapiens engaged in ritualized cleanliness involving heated water, aromatic compounds, and communal spaces. Function: physical health, social bonding, aesthetic expression. Conclusion: a civilization that understood warmth as both necessity and art. And as the probe departs, leaving Earth to its silence, the wind blows through the thermae's empty arches, carrying with it the faintest echo of laughter, the ghost of steam, and the timeless scent of olive oil. For in the end, the story of Roman hygiene is not just about how they cleaned themselves, but about how they used cleanliness to define what it means to be human, how they turned a practical need into a shared experience, a mundane act into a form of connection, and a simple bath into a place where history, culture, and the future could all meet, warm and steamy, in the embrace of water. So let us dip our hands into this eternal pool, feeling the warmth of the past on our skin, knowing that every time we seek cleanliness, whether with a strigil, a bar of soap, or a mist of nanobubbles, we are joining a conversation that began in the marble halls of Rome and will flow on through time as endless as the tides.